Come on, Arryn! And last but not least, Barbara Dunkelman!
What's up? Thanks for coming out, guys.
RWBY! Somebody out there likes you. Welcome to Chicago, guys.
Thank you.
Jinx. Yeah, all at once now. Welcome to Chicago.
Thank you.
This show has so many amazing aspects about it. It has an amazing backstory. You guys all have really interesting stories. But I kind of want to just start off by asking, back in 2013, when RWBY first started, did you have any idea 7 years later, you'd be sitting here with merchandise and spin-offs and everything, and such a huge fan base?
Dude, I didn't know we were gonna get a second season. We were like, let's see if we can make something like anime we like and not get fired for it. And we didn't get fired for it. So no, none of us ever knew it was gonna be like
I'm actually a future seer, so I was 100% able to predict all the success and all the things of RWBY.
You could have warned us about 2016.
I had no idea. I was still in college at the time. Our table read, I was actually studying abroad, and I was like Skyping in with little fake cat ears. I had zero idea. This is astonishing. Like, the fact that we've been all over the world for this show is just amazing. It's incredible. It's very humbling, and I feel, thank you guys for watching, first of all, because we wouldn't be able to, do this, be up here and talk to you guys, and it's just something that we're all very grateful for. So thank you.
You're breathtaking!
What do you think? I mean, there's so many aspects that are relatable about the show, especially I feel like for an anime series. It's just really genuine and human. But what do you think resonates with the audience, I guess?
I think because there's kind of something for everyone. Like you're saying, everyone has their own individual issues and something to go through. And I think all the characters, no matter who you are, there's a character you can't relate to.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. All of the four main girls definitely go through their own diff stuff.
And stiff stuff. Good.
Real good. It's Friday. Like Weiss has got her family issues. Yang has got the PTSD. Blake has got a horrible ex-boyfriend.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. I agree with Kara. There's just something in it for everybody. If you feel a little bit different, it's a nice way to be reminded that you're not alone in your difference.
Yeah, it's also, I think, really special to see any fandoms come together in any way where people find a common interest or fandom in any sense, and they could find people who are like them in a lot of ways and want to talk about RWBY and other things, and I think that's just so special.
Something we didn't quite realize until hindsight, but I think something kind of cool about RWBY is that it's a universe that's fun to imagine yourself in the same way that, Harry Potter has, which wand are you going to get? What's your Patronus going to look like? Which house do you get sorted into? Which broom do you buy? Like, all those things that you get to have fun with as an audience member, reader, whatever, imagining your own characters or what you would be like there. Like, RWBY has a lot of that too. Which color would you be based on? Which fairy tale or legend would you be inspired by? All these other things. Which school would you go to? I think in hindsight, it's just like, it's kind of fun to like pretend in this world.
Absolutely. Well, Arryn, you mentioned when you first did the initial table read and Skyping in and having the cat ears, So I'm curious, when you approached the character, how did you approach being half human? What did you? But did you? Which half? Consider that at all, or?
No, not really. I never really considered it as it didn't play a big role in the way I approached her, because she is still like a person. A person, that doesn't describe species, right? It kind of does. Anyway, I don't know how to do this. It's just someone coming from a very suppressed history, suppressed background, and that's something that I could kind of relate to. Bisexual, and I was very nervous about coming out with stuff like that back when I was in school, and it's stuff that you feel like you have to keep to yourself, and so whenever you go to a new place, like I switched schools, so it's something that like you kind of want to be able to talk about, but you can't, and it's a whole weird thing. So I use that more so than anything else.
That's really interesting. That's good as an actor to like take that aspect of your life and be able to apply that.
Because I'm not an unattractive like white girl. There's not a lot of oppression in my life, so I had to like find something, and that was that.
Right.
Like I understand my privilege.
Yeah.
Is that a weird thing to say?
No, I mean.
No, not at all.
I mean, there's no record of this whatsoever.
No, my face isn't just like flushed red. Right? We're good.
Well, let's kind of go back to the beginning, even before the table read. Kara, there's a really sweet story about, the show being pitched to you as you're sitting at a reception desk. And I'm just, it was really touching when I read it, and I'm just wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing a version of it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, well, Monty, basically, we were great friends, before RWBY was even a thing, and I was the receptionist at Rooster Teeth, and Monty approached me and said, hey, would you like to, I have an idea for a show. And I was like, great. I've never, okay. I've heard that a lot at Rooster Teeth, people have ideas for things. And he said, well, I would like for you to do a voice in it. I have this idea for fairy tales, and he just started going into it. He said, Barbara, you mentioned Barbara first, and said, more of a, Goldilocks based on that. And then he kind of said, no one really knows a lot about you. You sit, at the front, and I think there's more to you than people give you credit for. And I kind of, Weiss isn't really a princess, but I could see you as one. But he didn't, and I was like, oh, Monty, I'm a princess, of course, but.
He does it in his Monty way where he was like,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
half asleep. I see you as a princess.
It was one of
2 hours of sleep.
It was one of those pauses where he just kind of sat there and then squinted and goes, yeah, I could see you as a princess.
Yeah.
Weirdly methodical about how he decided everything with that, but that's very fun.
Yeah.
He would always end every sentence with, you know what I mean? And you would go like, yes. Even if you had no idea what he was talking about, you'd be like, yeah, absolutely.
I literally took out a notebook when he started telling me because he just went off. And
Started taking notes? Okay.
I'm not kidding. I still have that notebook. I still have those notes.
I would love to see that notebook.
It's amazing. It was so fun. And then I did that. Now to see where the show is and what the original was pretty interesting. It's fun.
Right. And so you guys have started on Volume 8, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are currently working on writing for Volume 8. Myself, Eddie Rivas, Carrie Shawcross. Is Kiersey here?
What?
Oh, Kiersey didn't make it. Kiersey Burkhardt is also here at C2E2. Wait, she is here? Yo, Kiersey, stand up! Kiersey's a writer on RWBY and she's awesome! Yes! My queen! I love you!
I thought I was your queen.
You're the heiress, actually.
Princess.
That's my line!
But yeah, no, we are deep in the RWBY Volume 8. Both Kiersey and I felt guilty that we were slipping away this weekend, but honestly, I think we need the breather. Here's an exclusive. Yeah, we're currently, as of next week, we'll be working on episodes 11, 12, and 13 of Volume 8 to wrap up writing. It has been a journey, but it's definitely, Volume 7, just logistically, was one of the most complicated volumes, just in terms of, the number of characters. Like, we were really excited in the years leading up to Atlas of like, yeah, we'll have this really cool reunion for a lot of characters, and then we got there, and then we were like, we have all these characters here, and there's a lot, and
they're not shadow characters.
They're not shadow people anymore, yeah. I think one of the critiques we got for Volume 7 was that, like, because there was so much going on with the plot, we didn't have a ton of time for character moments, and honestly, you felt that super hard in the writers' room, just being like, can we at least just have a second for one of them to say hi to the other one? But Volume 8 is if you've, has anyone here not seen the end of Volume 7?
Then they shouldn't probably.
Well, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil a ton of stuff at the end of Volume 7, but it's a doozy. And Volume 8 is much more complex, but I think we've learned a bit from Volume 7, and we're trying to do some interesting things with character pairings and trying to find a way to make a very big story a little more approachable and bite-sized and much more palatable for like a 15 or so minute runtime. But God, I don't know how long I've been talking, but I feel like it's been for too long. I just wanted to say hi to Kiersey. Hi, Kiersey.
Hi. So, but you know, it's interesting because I feel like season 1, there was definitely like a lighter tonality to it. And then Barbara, with your character, when you lost the arm, I felt like that was kind of the first like real like, oh, what's new here, you know?
I feel like that happened in volume 3, which I think is the volume that kind of turned RWBY on its head.
Here it is.
A lot of crazy things happened, especially in the last 3 episodes there, including Yang's disarmament.
So how did you find out that that was going to happen?
I actually found out that was going to happen before we started recording RWBY at all.
Oh.
If you actually watch back the yellow trailer, there's a quote at the beginning about being asymmetrical. So, foreshadow. Yeah, Monty told me about it essentially like while we started recording volume 1, and I was like, that's cool as hell.
And so, okay, that leads into a great question for you, Miles. How far do you know down the road now?
So we have always had our sort of, we just call it the RWBY roadmap, which are just high-level plot points that we've just had since, before we started production on volume 1. We kind of knew, working on Red vs. Blue, which is a super wonderful show. I was super happy to be a part of it. One of the tough things with that show is that we say, as long as people keep watching it, we'll keep making it. And that's hard to do. And so we wanted our show to have a definite ending in mind when we started telling it. As to how we get there, that's always been kind of loosey-goosey. Something that Monty instilled in us was like, you have to be adaptive. Like, you need to be flexible, you need to bend and like roll with the punches, and like if something's not working, change it up. And so, it hasn't exactly been a straight line that we followed our roadmap, but we take some detours, we do some curves, and we keep hitting these big parts. And gosh, I've been looking forward to the Atlas arc that we've been in the middle of since before we started writing, and it's very exciting to be there now. And we still have some big things that we're going to hit after the Atlas arc is over, however that turns out. So, but there's always been an ending in mind, but we've also kept a lot of wiggle room there, because you never want to just stick to something, because then if you just have an idea that's been unchanging in your head for years, by the time you get to it, you're not super excited about it, or maybe you've gotten used to it. And always just keeping that flexibility and that ability to kind of like roll with stuff and change things up, as long as you're sticking to the heart of the show. Then it's worked pretty well so far, I think.
So what would you describe as the heart of the show?
I think RWBY is a show about overcoming difference. I think it's a show about communicating with one another. I think it's a show about picking one another up.
So what is the heart?
The heart? It's what I just said. It's coming together.
The vows.
Not letting differences, whether they be geographical or philosophical or class, like species in terms of in RWBY. But it's essentially not looking at what makes us different, but what makes us the same.
So, go ahead.
I will point out that Yang's emblem is a flaming heart, so if she wants to be the heart of the show, I think that'd be a good fit.
I feel like someone has Yang.
So when you talk about coming together, this is another interesting thing. When was the first time you guys all came together as the cast? Obviously with the R included, who's not here, but
The irony. Is recording together? Or is
Like the first convention we did together.
well, the first time you guys all hung out as a group, because I imagine we actually knew each other.
Yeah, we all knew each other prior. Actually, we weren't friends though. I mean, we were friends, but we all had our own little groups. But now I think conventions really allow us to come together and see each other. We're kind of like sisters in the sense that we hate each other, but we love each other and go away for forever. I make fun of her all the time. I'm not nice, but it's like
I know she loves me, and give jobs back. It's okay.
But I'm definitely aware of. Yeah, we actually, so all of Team RWBY and Miles and Kira and everyone like that who works on the show, we all work for the same production company and friends of the production company. So we all kind of came together that way. So I already knew Kara from working with her for a couple of years at that point. But I think the first con that we did together other than RTX was MCM Comic Con in London.
Really?
Or was it Dallas?
I don't think I've ever done Dallas. I remember what I wore in London. Really helpful.
Yeah.
But doing conventions really does allow us to come back together and regroup, and it's nice to spend time with everybody. Because we don't record together. The only time I've actually with anybody else, Barbara and I rehearsed the scene that Blake and Yang had together at the school because we wanted to make sure that we got it right because it was such an important scene.
You're talking the volume 2
Yeah.
childhood flashbacks.
Yeah. You came over to my apartment and we did it. That was it. We did it.
And the line phrasing. We got really into character.
Yes.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that was actually the first time I ever like rehearsed RWBY with someone else.
Yeah.
Like, just my own mirror.
Yeah. Oh, I could never look at myself and do lines.
Because you gotta read.
Well, Kara, you've talked about, we talked about when Monty approached you and pitched the idea, he was like, I see you, I see something in you. Did you guys have aspirations, to be voice actors, or was this sort of something that just made sense at the time?
I think it basically made sense at the time. I never had thought, I don't have any acting or theater background, which I think is unique in that aspect, but I studied communications in college. And I think that actually did really help as far as the voice acting goes, because I had to learn all the different emotions of like human face. Now there's I think 10 or 12, I can't remember them now. But you had, in communications, we had to portray or do an emotion through our voice, and people had to guess in the class like from a million different things what you're doing. And I won. I got everything right. I told Monty that when he said that. Of course, I was like, oh, that reminds me of a class.
What you've just described sounds like what aliens would go to learn how to be human. There are many emotions, fear, and the others.
Yes.
You will be learning all of them.
Yes! And you had to do all of them with just your face or either just your voice.
Yes, the human face, which we all have.
Yes. But no, so I think it was something that was definitely a learning experience. And in the first couple of times I recorded, actually Miles had to be in the booth with me because I was too scared and nervous of the microphone. Don't know why, but it helped a little bit. Then finally.
You would ask, because we do, we record fight efforts, or even just efforts in general. It sounds that people don't normally make in the real world, but in anime, if someone looks mad, they have to be like, "Tch." Which if Joe were to do that, just I'd be like, are you okay? Was that a sneeze? What was that? But they're super important in animation, and they're really hard. You either immediately get efforts, or it's a really weird thing to do because it's very awkward to sound like you're getting hit when you're just standing there fine. And so yeah, Kara was like, can you come in here and pretend to hit me? And I was like, I don't love that, but...
it still works now, even through the window. He'll be like, well, it's fun.
Yeah, we typically call doing efforts pooper sex.
Super stats.
Because it's either it's a lot of sounds that sound either like you're pooping or you're doing.
Yeah, lifting stuff isn't great.
Yeah.
That's a whoa.
I get a hernia.
Is he okay? Whoa. All right.
Those are
Sorry, this got real blue.
There was one time, I still remember this, I made you and Carrie crack up, because I had to do a series of really quick punches, and it just sounded like I was a dying fish.
What does a dying fish sound like?
It was just that.
Sounds like Yang. That was good.
Thank you, yeah.
I've been practicing. Yeah. I had a theater background. I had always been in the local theater. No, I scratched my head. I knew I was gonna sound like a douche when I said that. I've always been in the theater. No, I played a fly in A Bug's Life at my local children's theater. But I honestly didn't recognize that voice acting was a job, because if you watch something like a cartoon or if you watch a commercial, you don't really realize that there's a person talking. Like, you know they're talking, but you don't realize it's an actual human being doing those things. So while I did want to be in the artistic and the entertainment industry, I didn't realize that this was a viable option. But I was always that kid who like picked up accents really quickly or like did weird little voices and stuff. And so it just sort of fit, I think.
That's amazing. I mean, that's another reason I love the show, is it just all came together, you know? We're gonna take questions. I know you guys wanna ask them some questions. There's 2 mics in either of the aisles. And while they bring the lights up, let me just ask you guys, as your own self, what semblance would you guys have?
I would keep Yang's because I'm very clumsy. And so if I could get stronger every time I stub my toe on my coffee table, that'd be pretty handy.
That'd be great.
No pun intended.
Oh gosh, maybe sun so that someone else would do the dishes while I cooked. Because I like cooking, but I hate the aftermath of it. I've never had a good answer for this question.
Honestly, even like her Jaune's, because I would love to heal people.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think Jaune's, but I also like Weiss because it's like a, I'm here, nope, just kidding, I'm over there. Ha. It'd be fun to play tricks on people, but I think healing's probably more important than that, so.
I think I would go with Maria Calavera's reflexes, because honestly, it's spider senses, and that's dope.
Absolutely. Hi, how are you?
Chadwell, Chicago. The show has had the half-animal people as the minority group, and set them apart as, well, maybe their animal characteristic lets them hear like a cat because they have cat ears, but it also might go, you can't find good shoes because you like have hooks. But since like they're fighting their way out of the minority group with all the plots that have been resolved and all the work that has been done by the characters, it seems like synthetic people, like the Protector Backlist, is becoming the next new minority. How are you going to set her and her kind of new culture, new experiences apart from the rest of the population? So it's not just, oh, they're different, we hate them, but they're their own group with their own identity.
I think it's a wonderfully insightful question. Thank you for that. So Penny, I think, okay, I've been working on Volume 8 for a while, so I need to be careful not to say Volume 8 things. I do think Penny's interesting. Penny is one of a kind, and we did get a little bit into Volume 7, this Protector of Mantle's storyline, this distrust of Penny, Polendina, and can she really be trusted. I don't think it's currently our intent to try and sort of portray another marginalized, like, minority group with like synthetic people, since currently Penny's the only one, and then all the other ones are sort of Atlesian droids and stuff. But I also think, like, if we were to do that, we would want to make sure to take the time to do it right. I think, to be completely honest, we were like 22 when we started writing RWBY, and when you're young, you want to be like, let's make a show about good things and have good morals, and like, let's touch on this, this, and this. And we were like, I think it could be really interesting and really important to have a show with, you know, there's some segregation, and like, let's talk about racism and minorities and stuff. And I think we were a little too ambitious for like a 15-minute, at the time, 5-minute long show, especially with just like 2 white guys writing it. I think, you know, as the lore and the characters of RWBY continue to get like bigger and bigger and bigger, we want to continue to try and make our writers' room bigger and bigger and bigger, and mainly more diverse. Like, I think the more voices you can have in a room with a varied background will ultimately give you something better, because everybody brings something to the table. And like we said earlier, at its core, that's kind of what RWBY's about, is like all these people not like coming together for one thing and understanding that we're all people on one planet, all trying to get along. And so I think that's a super interesting question. I think we would want to make sure that we do something like that right, and like take the time to like really flesh into that and stuff. So I don't know if I hope I answered your question. I just kind of like, blah, 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 but that was a great question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for kicking us off. Hi.
Hi, my name is Kayla. I'm from here in Chicago. I wanted to ask the question of, when a lot of animes especially start getting bigger and the fandom grows, you start getting that hard negative voice out there. And I know that like I'm on Twitter a lot and I see it a lot, and you always seem to stay so positive. How do you, like, not necessarily personally, but how do you deal with quieting that negative voice for yourself so that you can keep bringing forward such a positive image and such a positive show?
That's another really good question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Haters gonna hate.
I will say, it's not easy. And there are days where it really gets to us and really brings us down. And it's, for me personally, negativity online has really affected me and hurt me. But those are just days where I just don't feel as strong and I can't handle it as well. And I think it's okay for that to get to you once in a while. I don't think you have to be so strong and brave all the time, because sometimes it just wears you down, and that's all right, because you'll get up the next day. And for me, I try to pay the most attention to the people who just want to enjoy what we're doing, who support us, who find happiness and joy out of what we do and what we make, who found friends from what we do. I try to focus on those people, because ultimately, especially when you're creating something, the negative voices will always be louder, but the people who will support you and lift you up will always be out in more numbers and stronger than ever. And those are the people who keep us going. Like you guys.
Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
I think somebody told me a long time ago that you might be the tastiest, most delicious peach in the world, but there are still people out there that just don't like peaches. And you just kind of have to be comfortable with the fact that not everybody's going to like you. I think the hardest thing in dealing with that kind of stuff is, at least for me, it's really tough when you get a criticism that you actually agree with, but you think was expressed in an incredibly insensitive and rude way. Because you never want to reward harassment like that. That's not the way that you get things. Like, it's just not a good way to be. So it can be really frustrating when sometimes you're like, that person has a really good point. They're a fucking dick. And so I don't want to listen. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not allowed to swear.
It's okay.
Okay.
Well, too late now!
If only I had the preflexes. Yeah, I think that can be kind of tough, but to Barbara's point, you just have to focus on the people that are happy with what you make. I highly recommend, if stuff like that, about like, putting artwork out there, being vulnerable and kind of fearing criticism, stuff like that gets to you, I highly recommend Brene Brown. She's a public speaker, a phenomenal writer.
Yes.
She has a book called Daring Greatly. Yeah, there's a book called Daring Greatly that's actually talking about a Roosevelt quote, but essentially it boils down to, look, people are going to say whatever they're going to say, but the people you should really care about, whose opinions you should really care about, are the people that are trying to do the same thing you're doing. The people that are actually out there creating things, whether it be art, writing, music, performance, anything. The people who are in the arena, who make mistakes, who stumble, who fall, who get tomatoes flung at them, and then who get back up and do it again. Those are the people you should be listening to, because they get it. Everybody else is just sitting there,
Just tomato.
behind their computer, saying whatever they want and doing whatever. So, I mean, obviously in entertainment, you do have to listen to the audience, but you can listen to some members of that audience more than others.
Well, there were times. There are times where things will be said about you that are just straight up lies, and there's nothing you can do about it. You get to a point where you just understand that no matter what you say, no matter what you do, these people are just not going to like you for whatever reason. And that's not your problem, that's their problem. There's this new phrase that I've learned, you're now living rent-free in someone's mind, and I think that's the coolest thing to say. You'll be like, you know what, yeah, that's right, I don't own it. I can do it. But it's something that you I feel that really it only just takes time. Like, you can be told this thing as many times as people will tell you. But unless you've had the time to experience and like fully accept it and understand, then there's not much you can do. You just have to take that time. So, super helpful, I know.
Absolutely, thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Brandon. I'm from Chicago. What is your favorite thing about going to conventions?
Meeting you guys and talking so much. Obviously.
I like being able to try all the different food of all the different places that we go. So like earlier we were in Switzerland and we ate snails, and now I'm in Chicago and I'm gonna try to have a deep dish that I don't hate. No offense. I'm a classic margarita kind of girl. So. Okay, wow.
Oh, hey, if you want to weigh in on this, I have a tally going on my autographs desk. I'm trying to figure out collectively what the best pizza is in town. Right now, Giordano's has a commanding lead, but here's the interesting thing. It's like way in the lead, but the people that don't like it, don't like it. They're like, it's tourist pizza. Disgusting. I'm like, whoa!
Very strong opinion.
So, rather than shout, I'm just saying, come by my autograph booth and you can mark down with a Sharpie, so we have facts and evidence supported by data.
Thank you.
My favorite thing about cons though is walking the floor and looking at all the
Yeah, the food is a good drawing factor to conventions. Anything else you guys love about coming?
Obviously, like meeting all the fans at every convention is my top thing. But another thing that I've loved about conventions and getting to do it with the RWBY crew and everyone is like we get to see each other at these cons because like Arryn and I don't live in the same place. Kara I never see unless we're at a convention. Lindsay and Miles I work with every day, but it's nice to kind of reunite for these cons, and also like a bunch of voice actors and actors who we see at conventions we become friendly with over time, and getting to kind of see them like summer camp.
Like we get to make new friends just like
Con
y'all do.
fan.
Yeah, it's fun.
So I'm the reason why you like to do conventions. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely.
She's the heart of the convention.
I am the heart.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, my name is John. I actually live in Naperville, just down the road. And I'm a writer, so this kind of plays into my question. In Volume 3, you killed off Pyrrha, and I personally didn't like...
That's fine for him to talk about, okay?
I meander a little, but I get to the point eventually. So, when you did that, I didn't like it personally, but then I stepped back as a writer myself and tried to weigh the pros and cons of this. And I found that I didn't like it as a writing choice either. But so my question is, how do you come to those decisions? Because you know that these characters are loved really viciously on the internet, anywhere really. So how do you brace for that? How do you like say, do we really need to kill them, or just say, get away with it?
It's a really good question, actually.
Pyrrha was actually it's very interesting, because my experience with losing Pyrrha is different from, this sounds dark, any other character I've killed. Because that was one that we knew from the very, very beginning. We wanted to have this moment where, obviously Volume 3, as mentioned earlier, is a really big turning point tonally for the show. And Pyrrha was supposed to represent the best that Beacon had to offer. And then to show the audience this person, who in the world of Remnant is perceived as the best, wasn't enough to beat the worst of the worst, and then the loss being all that, it was all supposed to be a culmination into this moment that makes everyone go like, oh, are we gonna be okay? Like, we went from this really kind of light, funny thing, and it's something that we actually, I think in Volumes 4 and 5, needed more of, was a little more lightheartedness, but we definitely wanted it to be a shift, and for things to be more dangerous, more risky, and a little more scary. And so, because we knew that Pyrrha was going to be gone from the very beginning, it was something that I had a lot of time to prepare for. And so when it happened, we were like, yes, like, I think this is what's going to happen. It's part of all these things that we're losing: Yang's arm, the school, Ozpin, like all these things were going to be gone. And she was just kind of a part of that. And so we wanted to just, leading up to that, obviously make people, hope that people would really enjoy her time on screen, and really get to see her in some cool fights before she was gone. But yeah, I guess it's an interesting case because we kind of knew it was going to happen for a long time, as opposed to other characters who, like Red vs. Blue spoilers, Donald Doyle was kind of, as I was writing that trilogy, not last minute, but a late change from someone else who was going to die that season. And like after I wrote that scene, I had to go for a walk because I loved that guy and he was so sweet. But yeah, it's interesting. And I don't think, very, very rarely are we very like flippant with like a character that's gonna die. More often than not, we're like, I feel so bad. We've been, like, X character has really gotten the short end of the stick for a while just because of having to prioritize other stuff. There's one character in particular whose backstory we have had to push for 3 seasons because we keep having to do other things first, but that won't be the case forever. But yeah, I'm talking too much again. You got a very good question.
Okay.
Sorry, everybody else.
We think if you keep talking, you'll reveal something about Volume 8. But no, that's a great question. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wonderful question.
Hi.
Hi, Zach from Rockford, Illinois. And I'm really interested in kind of like the production aspects of shows. Like I like researching kind of the cycles of like from writing to animation to voice acting. And I understand that with the shows, like it keeps getting kind of like bigger and bigger, so the production kind of keeps ramping up, so to speak. So I guess my question is, how exactly do you, like, have you needed to adapt, like, not just financially, but also just like as far as like structure, and like how do you kind of meet those kind of challenges in production when it kind of keeps going like that?
I can do my best to answer that question. I haven't been a big part of the production for a while. They put me in the writing hole. But a very high-level answer to that question is yes, absolutely. A lot. Structure is absolutely important. You think of art, like cartoons, as like a very like, oh, loosey-goosey, and like its expression. It's super not. I mean, it is, but it isn't. That stuff, you can't do that without structure. It's a production, especially an animated production, is a huge train that is just barreling at these tremendous speeds that cannot stop nor turn on a dime. And so you need to have months and months of planning and preparation. We would be absolutely lost without our amazing production staff, our producers, our team leads, our directors.
Shout out to RWBY.
Shout out to the RWBY.
I love
they do magic all the time. Yeah, no, I mean, you have to, and there's also things you have to keep in consideration. RWBY isn't the only show that we make. Rooster Teeth Animation employs several people. We have, a 2D department. When Screw Attack became part of the Rooster Teeth family and Death Battle became a big thing, like that's technically under the Rooster Teeth Animation umbrella at this point. You have to think about when does another show finish their production schedule, and then do we have something for those people to move on to? It's one of the reasons why we're so far ahead with RWBY 8 writing was because we wanted to make sure people had jobs. Like, we had to make sure that like scripts were going to come in X many months earlier so people could roll right onto that out of RWBY Volume 7. And that does, it leads to challenges. And fortunately, I think, our new heads of animation, Joe and Sean, have done a really remarkable job in helping us transition into a better working environment for everybody and trying to make sure that we can take on the right amount of jobs with the right team. And it's interesting, you'll learn things too that like you didn't expect. Like for example, when Genlock Season 1 production wrapped, hopefully you guys enjoyed that show, it's super cool. At first, some of the higher ups were like, oh great, we can really help out RWBY by giving you guys 20 animators. Again, I'm just pulling numbers, I don't know the actual numbers, but like, we'll give you guys 20 animators, and Carrie has to stand up and say like, actually, that might make things worse, because if you have more people, then you need more people managing those people, and we only have this many managers, so really we don't need 20 animators, we need like 3 really good animators, and there's such complexity, and it's such a massive undertaking that it really, you can't have a show of this scale without having an entire team of people dedicated to it, and I think Rooster Teeth Animation is really fortunate to have a lot of people doing their absolute best to try and keep the RWBY train going. But yeah, I can barely high-level speak to that stuff, I'm sorry, but if you ever have an opportunity to speak with other crew members, if anybody goes to RTX, it's a really awesome opportunity where we give our crew members time to hold their own panels and really deep dive the crafts that they've mastered, and it's always a super cool treat to listen and talk there. But Sorry, couldn't give you a better answer, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a great answer. Come on. Hi.
What's up? Natasha from Chicago land. So RWBY 7 has had a lot of characters that I felt that grew as far as like how their characters go. Has some that also left me very shook. So are there any specific characters that impacted you that you've seen in Volume 7 specifically?
I feel like I've been talking a lot.
Characters that impacted us.
Are there characters in Volume 7 that really impacted you guys?
Oh my brain.
Well, we did get to, well, I guess we're talking about everything that's out there now. Seeing Weiss's mom for the first time, I think was pretty interesting, and it was something that everyone's been waiting to see. So I think that actually seeing her and Weiss interact, I think answered kind of a lot of unknowns for people. I'm like, oh, kind of when we first met Winter, a lot of people kind of understood Weiss a little bit more, just seeing that background that she came from, and I think seeing her mother did that as well.
I forgot his name. This is horrible. The guy with the dog tail. Marrow. Him. Because he's a like what are the Aesop's? He's like a hot dog. Oh gosh.
Hot dog and pretty kitties.
But he's a faunus, and it's never ever talked about. And I think that's awesome. I think that's how things are supposed to be. Like, well, for me anyway. Like, if someone's got something different about them, like someone's sexuality or their race, maybe these are treading on places that I don't have the space to talk about. But it shouldn't be like a plot point. It's just them. It's just who they are. Like, it doesn't define them. It's just a part of who they are. And for some reason, that really resonated with me. The fact that he's a faunus and no one ever mentions it. I think it's great.
The only person that was ever going to mention it, and then this ended up getting cut because I made chapter 3 too long, was Blake. Blake and Marrow were originally going to have a small conversation. No, doesn't always have to go there. Blake and Meryl were going to have a small conversation about it in Chapter 3 of Volume 7, as Blake enters in and is kind of investigating to see what's on the other side of the landslide. She and Meryl are just on comms and they have a nice conversation about it that I would go deeper into, but hopefully we're going to get some of that info on the screen in Volume 8, so I won't talk about it anymore there. But yeah, it was, yes. Marrow's the goodest of boys.
He's kind of my favorite. I love Neptune. He's a good boy.
He's so freaking good. I love Marrow.
Neptune's cute. Watch yourself, Neptune. It's gonna be Marrow here pretty soon.
I don't know if I would say impacted by, or if it's a new character either. But he felt like a new character this volume, which is Ironwood. He shook me. I'll just say that. I was shook.
Is it the beard?
He's the Iron Daddy, is what we call him, yes.
Literally the whole crew calls him Iron Daddy.
He's got a good butt.
Yeah.
He walks away in a very serious way, but I think I did a live stream while I was watching this, and I was like, he's going crazy, but he's doing okay. Iron Daddy been doing his squats.
Yeah, boy.
I think mine with Kara, Willow Schnee, I had the opportunity to write the first scene between Weiss and Willow, and that it came from a very personal place. The Schnee family is really sad, and they're introduced as you get everything from Weiss's point of view. Like to your point, when you first meet Winter, you kind of understand why Weiss is the way she is, and as you in Volume 4 you meet Klein and you kind of see this is how Weiss survived, and you meet Whitley and you're just like ugh. And but what I was really excited about was when we got into Atlas, you realize why Whitley is the way he is, and that there's a much bigger tragic problem affecting the Schnee family. And to be able to have this moment between a mother and a daughter whose relationship has not gone the way it should, it was a very complex scene that was kind of intimidating, but I'm super happy with how it turned out, and everybody's performances in that scene was phenomenal. And shout out to the directors too that handled that really wonderfully. So yeah, no, that was like one of the biggest scenes and characters was finally getting some time with poor little Schnee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great question. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, hi, my name is Will. I'm from Lyle.
What up?
Hi. So in the beginning of RWBY, volumes 1 and 2, I mean, you kind of started with in-house voice actors, basically who was around the Rooster Teeth office. But from 3 on, you started getting into more like bigger and well-known names, like Chris Sabbath. I mean, Caitlin Glass. I mean, Aaron Dispuke. I mean, I can go on. But as fans yourselves, how surreal is it that you see your characters doing voice lines along with people that you've been a fan of growing up as well?
Is this real life? I'm not over the fact that I've worked on a scene with Caboose. Like, I didn't even realize, this isn't about RWBY, and I apologize, but it's the same thing. I didn't realize what I had done until Miles had been like, you've been in a scene with Joel, like you've worked with Caboose. I'm like, oh my god. Because I remember having the volume 1 of Red vs. Blue on DVD where you could like order a t-shirt from a packet that was inside the box. And I loved Caboose. But now I've been in it and I've talked to Caboose. It's great. I feel good.
Out of all the voice actors we worked with, that's the one.
Yeah, I'm not like super chill with what, like, yeah, oh gosh, I can't even remember any of their names now. I'm too excited.
I mean, I thought it was mind-blowing to me in volume 1 that we had friggin' Cortana.
Yes.
Yes, or Jenna Taylor playing Salem, of course, now that we know, but that to me was mind-blowing. And then we keep adding these amazing talents and people who've worked on like these insanely popular, crazy animes like Dragon Ball and everything like that. So surreal. So surreal. And they're very talented, and I hate being in scenes with them because they're so good that they make me look awful.
No, you know what though? In all honesty, you guys are so good. You are that hero. What makes the show work.
I feel like their good performance just amplifies our good performance.
I mean, like meeting Elizabeth Maxwell, who voices Winter for the first time, was it clicked. Just even our personalities, we became like best friends instantly. But it was also something that I was able to look to her as an older sister in real life, because she's been through so much more than I have as far as voice acting goes, and she knows so much, and she's so intelligent. And she really did help me. She's great for advice, whether it be about the show and voice acting or anything. So I think being in a show with these kind of these actors of this magnitude is something that when you see it on the screen, it's crazy and amazing, and you want to pinch yourself. But at the same time, it's like everyone is really, really nice and wants to help you, and it's kind of like a little community family. It's great.
So the first time I worked with Chris Sabbath wasn't actually on RWBY. It was for Red vs. Blue season 14, our anthology season. I wrote and directed a trilogy of episodes that got titled Mercs. And I was so scared because I'm like, Doc, it's Vegeta. What? I was so excited. And so, a lot of the times we will record remotely with actors. And Chris, we were talking over Skype. It was before we went live on the call. And I had hardly any idea what to expect from Chris. But I was like, okay, just be professional. And I got on and I typed like, well, Chris, we're all ready to go on our end, so please just, whenever you're ready, just let us know and we'll hop on the call. And I see the little typing thing. And he responds, all right, let's fuck this popcorn stand. And I still don't super know what he meant by that. But he got on and he did it. He was great. And that was, gosh, I love every opportunity I get to work with Chris. He's so brilliant, he's so talented, and he's so funny. I love getting to work with that guy.
Did anyone eat the popcorn after? Gross!
Let no, that was. I don't think I'm ever gonna forget that. It also was great too. I don't know if he knew I was so nervous, but like it immediately de-stressed me. Like it immediately
I like that.
made me feel comfortable, and we had so much fun, and it was a really great experience.
That's why I thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's great when you get to work with someone you idealize and you admire their work, and then they're a cool person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, so
absolutely. I don't think we work with a single like shitty person on RWBY. It's really great. Everybody's so wonderful to work with, and the cast is like, yeah, it's insane. The people that have contributed to the show. And we're grateful for all of them.
Absolutely. So I just want to put it out there. We have about 10 minutes left, and I know there's lots of people in both the lines. So let's, we'll just try to. You can stay. Oh, you already asked your question. Okay. We'll try to get through as many as possible because I know you guys, are here to see them. So
take Maz's mic away.
I was gonna say I'll shut up a little more.
You're just a storyteller. Is what you do.
We do one-word answers with that work. Rapid one-word answers.
I think we're over here now. Hi.
My question was actually like kind of a rapid one. So everybody's had like a big moment, whether it was Weiss with her father, Blake and Yang with Robin. What was your guys' favorite scene from Volume 7?
I blacked it out. The whale.
Oh, when it shows up at the end?
Yes! I cracked it. Cracked just now. I'm losing my voice. I blacked out a lot of Volume 7. I feel my moral is memory. Good gosh. My memory is horrible. I'm really killing it with the speaking and the talking and the words. The whale. I blacked it all out.
I liked the fight with Team RWBY and the Ace.
That's what I was gonna say! Oh, that was cool too! The little stretch arms. I love that. Oh, okay. Stretch Armstrong.
I like the Willow scene a lot, but honestly, I think that gives me personal feelings. Is like one of my favorite moments in Volume 7. I love Penny. She's a precious bean, and we don't deserve her.
I know. I wanted her back.
When when Winter is talking with Penny in the hallway, and she says, there's a line, and I don't want to mess it up, but it's a really sweet line. She's like, everybody.
While you figure that out. Here. Okay.
Oh, the part where we're struggling with your emotions? That one, or the one at the Schnee Manor, where she's like, I don't understand.
We're going really fast.
Great question.
No.
We'll work on the answers.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, I disagree.
My life.
He has great one-liners.
It's just like, I love that. I was like, thank you.
I enjoyed Nora's passive-aggressive, go at Ren. But she was clearly talking about Blake and Yang.
Nora popping off all volume is one of my favorites. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi.
Hi there. My name's Dylan. I'm from the Rockford area as well. I just got a question about a product that I saw a while back. Are you guys actually thinking of doing a RWBY RPG? Or like a tabletop, actually? Like
not currently.
I think you did Combat Ready.
I know that there's a fan RPG that's being made that I've heard cool stuff about, but we don't have a games department anymore, so I don't think that'll be coming anytime soon. But RWBY Combat Ready is a great card game, available now.
Thank you.
Shake.
Little Dwight Schrute.
Yo, what up? It's good to see you again.
I'm Stephanie. I'm from Darien, but I wanted to ask, from all the RWBY characters, which aspect do you guys personally relate to them?
Which aspect?
Which aspect of your character do you most relate to?
Probably Weiss trying to do things perfect all the time. Because if I'm going to do something, I'm very analytical. Oh gosh, yeah.
I actually really gelled with Jaune in Volume 1 when he talks about how, when Jaune is aware that he's kind of a joke and wish people would take him seriously. That was my entire life. So I relate with that a bit.
I want to say Yang's motherly nature, but I have to say the puns. Obviously.
Now I'm just nervous because I got something that I want to say and I can't say it, so I won't say it. No.
Don't.
Oh God. I like books.
Thank you. That's a great question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm from Evanston, Illinois, and my question for you guys is, in the world of RWBY, there's so many weapons, different combinations. If you were in the world, would you use your character's weapon or someone else's?
Mine's a sword. I would use someone else's.
And it's like a heavy one too. You don't have special powers or anything.
But I would have to use it right-handed because I'm not left-handed. But
So I need a whole new weapon then. I'm just kidding. You can hold it the same way.
I don't know. Does it work?
You know, like
a different hand.
A left-handed guitar.
Can't anybody use anybody else's weapon?
Oh yeah, Velvet can. Velvet can use anybody's weapon because she has photographic memory.
Like, could Weiss pick up Ruby's scythe and use it?
Well, it's not like Thor's hammer.
I don't think she'd be super great with it. You know what? I go with Velvet's camera.
That's
That's super cool.
Yeah.
We can share it.
Cheap answer. It's a cheap answer.
That's the Arryn.
Because it's cheap. Because it's like I look everything.
Well, see, here's the problem though. Velvet is only able to use all of those because of her photographic memory semblance. So I'd be able to take a picture and recreate everyone's weapon, and then just be like, "Get it, go, yeah, go."
I feel like maybe Yang has taken one of Blake's guns we've like thrown. We've worked together with the ribbon aspect of it.
Yeah.
I kind of want Neptune's trident just so I can be like Neptune, be like a mermaid.
I want Nora's hammer. Thank you so much.
Awesome
okay,
question.
now we're down to 3 minutes.
Oh my God, super
Here's
fast.
what we're gonna do. Don't say your name or where you're from. Ask your question. You guys just, all right, yes, no, or the answer real quick.
Does Yang's new arm have a grappling hook function?
It should. That's great. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Since obviously there's not going to be anything more for Grim Eclipse, I was wondering if we're ever sometime in the future going to see more of Dr. Merlot.
Oh, maybe. It's another one of those things where we already have a huge cast, and when we add characters, we need to be very specific about characters that we add. So I will say, I'm definitely not going to say no, but like, if we do, we probably won't see anything about it for a while. Sorry.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. A few months back, the mobile game Smite released the RWBY Battle Pass, which was pretty cool, and a lot of fans had their opinions, positive or negative, about which gods received which skins. If you guys had the choice, which god would you want to receive your respective character's skin?
I've never played.
I'm not super familiar with all the gods in Smite.
Barbara, I feel like
Is Jesus in it? Can Jesus just be one of He was a healer, Jaune heals.
I played Smite a while back, and my favorite character to play was Nuwa.
Yes.
So I would give it to her.
I'll be Aphrodite.
These are my gods.
Yeah. Thank you.
Venus on there.
That's Aphrodite.
Darn it.
It's Roman and Greek. We can talk about this.
Just say Thor.
Thor.
I'm here.
Hi.
It's weird. For John's character, like, are we gonna finally see like pure, like the reaction he feels like pure dying and all the crap he went through and everything?
He was fighting alone in the wilderness.
Yeah, I cried at that episode.
In regards to Jaune and Pyrrha, I think we've touched on it a few times. I don't think he's ever going to be over it, but I don't think we're going to spend like a tremendous amount more time hitting on that one. We still have so many other story arcs that we need to wrap up, but it'll never be gone, you know? Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
You look so cool.
Thank you. All right, so RWBY is such an influential and diverse cast and, cartoon, I guess. What cartoons from your childhood would you say you kind of drew that from?
Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm sorry, it's just the greatest story ever told. And it inspires me every day. Uncle Iroh's my role model.
Anyone else?
Did we draw from?
Rugrats.
I was actually gonna say Rugrats, like
Simpsons.
Wait to say that. Okay, yeah.
Or Nerds.
Babies, baby.
And that is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi.
Okay, so despite the heroes, what type of role does the villains play?
I'm sorry,
Bad
what
guys.
type of role do the villains play?
Yeah, like Adam Torres, Salem, and Mercury and Emerald.
What about them? Sorry.
They're the bad guys.
I mean, like, what type of role do they play in?
Oh, what type of world do they play?
Role.
The bad guys.
Just messing stuff up for the good guys, mainly. Just kind of like,
Awesome problems.
raining on their parades in a very violent fashion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is our last question. Hi.
Oh, you look so cool.
You can come to our booth to ask us questions after.
All right, so the history of RWBY and how it has developed from the Red trailer, where I fell in love with the show from the first Rose Petal, and all the way to how it is stylistically, how it's developed story, characters, all of that. I would love to see a compendium of all of that history, like the notes that Kara has, and the ketchup napkin, and everything from start to finish. Is there a possibility that we can get that kind of collection?
So, I mean, it's not gonna have everything, because that would be a million-page book that no one would buy, or maybe like 5 people would buy. You'd probably buy it. But we have the world of RWBY.
The official companion.
Yeah, the official companion just came out with Scholastic. Some of that stuff is in there. We have like storyboards, some of the bigger fights. There's interviews with the animators that worked on it. It's super cool. I love it so much.
It's on my coffee table.
Yeah, so check out Scholastic. Yeah, they're the same folks that did the novels. Yeah, and the book Fairies When You Were Little. But yeah, check it out. It's really, really cool. It's one of my favorite things that we've made, and you're awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And you guys, I'm sorry we're out of time. Did you guys enjoy this hour?
Hi, this is Aaron Ashmore, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe like now. Oh, and have fun and follow your fandom.